Hello, everybody.
Hi, everybody. Happy Monday.
Thanks for joining us. All right, so I'm going to get started with introductions so that we have plenty of time for our content today. So just a quick reminder, I'm Lisa Groft. I'm the fitness director here at Milestone Wellness Center in Louisville. And this is Stacey Vicari. She is a life coach. Last week, one of the things I wanted to talk about is what does a life coach do? So Stacey, can you give us an idea of what you do as a life coach?
Sure. So, it's funny because my normal explanation of what I do as a life coach actually includes what you do as a personal trainer and a fitness person. So the best way for me to describe it is as a life coach, I work with people to help them do what a personal trainer does. So people would hire you, Lisa, because they want to have a great body. They want to be more physically fit, but on their own, they just don't know how to get there. They're not sure how to put those pieces together. And then once they do, even if they did know how to do that, the execution is really hard for people to get to the gym and to get motivated and to stay committed. And so people hire personal trainers to help them with that one area of their life. And what I do is I'm sort of the general contractor of a person's whole life. So I work with them on all the different parts of their life to create their plan and then to execute their plan once they know it and to overcome obstacles that come up on a daily basis for people.
That's great. So I thought that was a really good explanation. It kind of describes what both of us do. So I thought that would be good for Stacey to start with. So this week's topic is creating your support system. When we were coming up with the topics, initially we said finding your support system, but we decided that it was better to be more intentional about it. And we changed it to creating your support system. It's something that you have to go out and do yourself. So that's what the topic is, creating your support system. Again, thanks for commenting. Thanks for saying hello. We love to see that on there. But just remember, we will address questions at the end because we have so much content that we have to get through in the 25-30 minutes that we have allotted for this. Okay, so we have four key components or four key ways to create your support system that we're going to talk about today. I'm going to start with the first 3.5 or so, and then Stacey's going to come in at the end, and you don't want to miss that. So make sure that you stay tuned in. And if you have to leave, make sure you come back and watch it because you don't want to miss what she has to say. Because just like with the life coaching thing, she said she's going to wrap it all up and show you how to execute your plan. So that's a really good thing for her to do and give you some calls to action at the end. So how do you create a support system in your life? Now, the support system you need if you're setting goals, like we talked about last week, if you're setting goals and you're going to be intentional, you have to have people around you who are not only supportive, but are practicing the same lifestyle. I find that that's really important. So the number one thing that I'm going to talk about today is finding a fitness community that fits you and what you're trying to accomplish. So maybe you're trying to lose 50 pounds. Well, you probably need to be around other people who also want to lose weight because you need to bounce ideas off of each other and find those people who understand your struggles and your battles that you're going through. So a fitness community isn't just a gym, but of course that's what I'm here to talk about because that's what I do for a living. So finding a gym or a wellness center or someplace like that where you can get involved in group classes is a big one so that you feel like you have that camaraderie when you're there. And it's almost like having a personal trainer every time you go because that instructor's waiting on you. They know you're going to be there, especially if you have to sign up ahead of time, things like that. So it's that accountability that people are looking for. And there's your support system is your group of friends who you normally take classes with. I can tell you that people generally take the same classes over and over again. So you will get to know people in there, and that's a big support system for you. By the way, I'm looking at my notes so I don't miss anything important. Hiring a personal trainer is a really good way to find or create a support system. A lot of times people think of personal trainers as somebody who's going to run them into the ground or work them really, really, really hard or, you've seen it on TV. I don't want to name any names, but you've seen it on TV when the trainers are really, really hard on clients. I can tell you that is not what's happening in the gym setting. We are supportive. We're helpful. We're holding people accountable. I always joke and say, if it wasn't for lack of motivation, I wouldn't have a job. That's what I do. I help motivate people. I get them into the gym and I get them moving. So Stacey can probably attest to that as well. So people need to be held accountable, and that personal trainer can help with that. And they are going to be your biggest advocate when it comes to creating your support system. They're going to be your biggest support system. And finding a gym buddy. Here's an important thing to remember, though. Whoever your gym buddy is, I always joke about this, but there's truth to it, has to be either more motivated or the same amount of motivated as you. Unless you're not motivated at all, then you don't want somebody who's the same amount of motivated as you. But you don't want a gym buddy who you're going to call every time you want to go to the gym and say, hey, you want to go to the gym today? Or what days you want to go to the gym this week? And they'll be like, I don't really feel like going. That's not a good gym buddy. It has to be somebody who is excited about it and is going to follow through. Because you're going to lose your motivation too if your gym buddy keeps blowing you off or telling you no. So make sure that your gym buddy or partner is very motivated as well. Sometimes you can do like partner training with a trainer. So if you have a friend who is your gym buddy and you want to get going, you can hire a trainer for a couple of sessions to get you going, and then you all can keep that momentum going on your own. So just think about things like that, of ways to create that support system with a community, a fitness community. So Milestone is different in that we have over 200 group exercise classes a week before COVID. It's a little bit different now, but so we have lots of classes to choose from. If you have a gym that doesn't have as many classes, then maybe you need to look at other options, but classes are a big component of what we do here at Milestone. And we're also a wellness center. So a lot of our things that we offer here are very different than what you might see in a big box club. I'm not knocking them. It's just kind of different in how we differentiate ourselves between the rest of the gyms in the community. So what do you do if you don't live in Louisville? Well, look for the name Wellness Center in the name of your gym, if there is one in your city, or one that's hospital affiliated is always going to be a little bit more wellness center geared driven rather than a big box gym. So, if you have any questions about that, you could always reach out to me or Stacey, and we could kind of lead you in the right direction on how to find the right gym for you, how to hire the right trainer. You want to make sure they're credentialed and that they're not just some fly by night person who just likes to exercise. You want somebody who has experience and has a certification in the right field, things like that, which I won't go into today. But make sure that your support system and your fitness community is doing the right thing. And I did want to briefly touch on COVID, what we're doing differently at Milestone. Of course, we're going above and beyond with cleaning, and the equipment is spaced out. So don't let fear be a reason why you're not going to a fitness center. Go check them out, see what they're doing first. I can tell you that at Milestone, we are making people wear masks because it's the mandate here in our city. We get a lot of negative feedback. I really can't breathe in this or whatever. Yes, you can. I don't want to come to the gym because I don't want to have to wear a mask. You'll be fine. Plus you'll be safe. And so we at Milestone are following all the protocols to keep our members safe and our staff safe as well, because we want to be able to come back to work every day. So, okay. So that is topic number one. And I don't want to harp too much because Stacey does have a lot to talk about too. But topic number two is, I lied. I'm not going to do the second.
Oh, Lisa, you had me panicking. It's next week.
The first topic, Stacey's going to do the last three. You still don't want to miss what she has to say, all right? So you should have stopped me.
No, that's totally okay. But now everyone's going to have to deal with me talking even faster than usual.
Even faster because she's got to go. Okay, so again, that fitness community is, again, what I focus on and what is my expertise. But the next three are the things that Stacey's going to focus on and her expertise. And I'll chime in every once in a while. So Stacey, take it away.
Great. Thank you, Lisa. So we're talking about creating your support system today. And the first thing I want to do is sort of in the first session, before we jumped into talking about getting motivated for the new year, I'm a really big advocate of pausing and being deliberate and intentional before one takes action. And so just like last week, we talked about creating a word of the year and setting goals. This week, as we talk about creating your support system, I want to pause with each of you to be sure that you know what support you need. And that may seem obvious, right? Like everybody needs support and people talk about it freely. But oftentimes in my practice, I notice that people haven't actually defined what support they need. And as a result, it's hard to get something or even ask for something if you're not exactly sure what that is. So the first thing I want to do is encourage everybody to sit down. I'm a big advocate of pen and paper, whether that's just a notepad on your keyboard or in your journal, but really sitting down to think about like what support do you need? Is it logistical? Is it emotional? Is it mental? Is it financial? But to really articulate what those areas of support are. And so by doing that, it's like a roadmap. It's a roadmap to knowing where you need to go and who you need to ask for, yourself included, on what support you need, and then manifesting that. So that's the first thing I want to do, is just raise awareness that we need to pause first and think about our support. So the second, the first category of support that most people think of when they think of being supported is family and friends. And I guess I just want to echo what Lisa was saying about a gym buddy, because this is really important. Like, who we associate and align with is one of our biggest decisions that we can make in our lives to support ourselves in being the best version of ourselves. Keeping positive company fosters and draws out positive energy in us. Being with people that are energized and feel passionate about life will help draw that passion out in us also. So it's really important to choose your support system in a way that supports what it is that you need, back to that first exercise. Now, a lot of people say, well, that's great in theory, but what happens if my spouse, or what happens if my kids, or what happens if my best friend or my mom or siblings are negative? Like, do I just ditch them? And of course, the answer is no, you don't ditch them. But by knowing more specifically what you need in terms of support, it does allow you to go to them and ask for very specific things. So if somebody tends to lean negative and you just get sucked into their vortex because you're not mindful, this allows you to have a little bit of distance with them around the negative things and be more specific about your requests of them regarding the positive things. And then more specifically, it's really important on the home front to have your space supporting you, to make sure that your physical space is cleared up. We talked a little bit about that last week. But it's also important to be on the same page with your family about screen time and food in the refrigerator and the clutter in the house. And so my advice for you is that, to the extent that you can have a very heartfelt, loving conversation with your family members to support your needs and having those things work, I encourage people to do that. And similarly with friends, I coach a lot of clients on how to have tough conversations with their friends and of course family too, being more positive. So these things can be done, just like Lisa was saying, that like, yes, you can breathe through a mask, and yes, you can do this through COVID. You can definitely elevate your support system by asking for what you need and you want. So that's the first one, family and friends, and knowing what you need, turning to them and asking for that support. The next thing is organization and planning. We're back to that planning piece again from last week, and it's pretty critical, because in order to be supported, I guess I just want to make a distinction here really quickly, because a lot of times when people think about support, they're thinking external support. Like Lisa talked about, the external support that comes from a gym, the external support that comes from your trainer, really even the external support that comes from me as your life coach and your friends and family. But I think the things that really predict how supported people feel are sometimes some of the more hidden things behind the surface that make a big difference. And that's the support that you set up for yourself. So now let me go back to organization and planning, because those are two things that you can do for yourself to support yourself. So again, the one thing I want to talk about under that is time. So, I hear people all the time, even during COVID, talking about how they don't have enough time to exercise, or they don't have enough time to eat well and to food prep and all of that. But I want to just make a point that really we all do have time. The most effective and efficient people I know are operating each day with the same 24 hours that everyone else is. So it's really important to be mindful of where you vote with your time. And so I do want to pause for just a second, because there are two main things that I see being the culprits for people in terms of having the spaciousness to pursue the things that support them in their lives. And the first one comes back to that screen time piece. People get really sucked into social media, of course, as we know, and just being on their computer in general, not knowing how to fill their time productively. And so they just end up in this vortex of comfort, which is to just be on their screen and Google things and read things that really aren't adding to the quality of one's life. So first thing we need to do is have a daily audit of what our screen time is and hold ourselves accountable to reducing that screen time. That's number one. And another thing that I see a lot, just in my practice, with my neighbors, in my community, in our culture, is the role that alcohol plays in sabotaging our support. Now that sounds silly because we think, I'm going to have a glass or two of wine at the end of the day to unwind and just support myself and to take that edge off from the day. The problem is most people who drink a few glasses of wine or cocktails or beer at the end of the day, it's just enough edge to take not only the negative edge off the day, but it's just enough to take all the last of your motivation and energy at the end of the day away too. And so what happens is we end up having several hours in the evening, which would be prime time for us to be able to get things done or prepare for the things we need to do to support ourselves. But most people at that point are tired and their energy is low. And then that social media and screen time cycle kicks in. And so they end up just sort of vegging out to the night and then waking up to the next day feeling regret about not getting anything done, both productive or from a support perspective. So I just really want to speak to those things under organization and planning, is that we all have the time. We need to be deliberate about using it. And so the last area I want to talk about here is the need for some tools and some practices in order to be productive. So we've talked about journaling. I mentioned it last time. I think one of the reasons why journaling is really important when it comes to fostering your own support system is that number one, sometimes the people who you would want to turn to aren't available when you need support. And number two, I often think that some of the support that we need, we don't get because, again, we're disconnected in the moment from what we need in order to efficiently ask for what we need. And so I think journaling is just a reboot. And this does not need to be long. This can just be taking a few minutes when you have free time and just checking in with yourself and observing that you might feel off, or you might feel negative, or you might feel low motivation, or you might feel anxious or depressed. And then just tuning in and just checking in with your body, checking in with your mind, checking in with your heart, and tuning in to see what you need. And asking the question, once you do, what you need to do to take action to get that support. So that's one thing, is using journaling as a tool. The second thing I want to talk about is some type of goal tracking system. That's really important because in order to support ourselves, most people are wanting support to be healthier, to be more positive. And so a lot of things fall under those umbrellas. And I just feel like there needs to be some built-in personal accountability to check in with how we're doing on those things. And that's something that we can do without anyone else around us. We have our phone, we have all sorts of apps. I just use an Excel spreadsheet, but I fill my Excel spreadsheet out every day. It's just my tracking system for my workouts, for my meditation. It allows me to stay present to what it is that I'm committed to. So that's the second thing. And then the last thing I want to sort of end with before we pause for action steps and closure and questions is, and maybe some of you heard me on my segment Friday afternoon with Terry Miners, but I spent time just sharing one of the tools that I created when I was a little girl. And it's something I'm using to this day. I use it as a big support system and a big motivation tool. And so, and it's something that you don't need anyone else to do. So I'm just going to share that. It's my game that I call Beat the Clock. And so I use this as a way to get motivated. I often will use it when I'm feeling a little bit low energy or tired, but I still want to get things done. And then what I do is I either choose a number of tasks or I choose a duration of time. And what I normally do is I tend to put on really loud music when I'm about to play, and then and to use that as some extra motivation to get my body going. And then I will just look at the clock, and it's the same lying in bed, and it's gray and cloudy, and I'm tired, and it might be 6:30 or 6:25. I'll look at the clock and I'll say, okay, it's 6:30. I'm going to get out of bed and I'm going to get as much done as I can between 6:30 and 7. And I play this game. And now all of a sudden, instead of avoiding it, instead of feeling low energy, now I'm in this mindset to like sort of win this game. And so for 30 minutes, I can sometimes get done more than I would get done in 90 minutes because I've set a deliberate intention for a very short amount of time. So it's maybe 30 minutes. The max I ever do is an hour. Or sometimes I'll say, I'm just going to do 5 things before I go to bed that will make me feel great when I wake up in the morning. And so I could do 5 things. They could be small, they could be big, they could be whatever. But it's just this mindset of supporting yourself and taking action. And I use this tool all the time with my clients. I have teachers that dread grading papers. I have people that need to clean a garage and they would rather slit their throat. I mean, it works in all these different contexts. And it's a great way for you to be less dependent on external motivation and access more motivation yourself when you need it. So that's all I'm going to say right now, because I think we're actually right on time for our 20 minutes. And so I know we wanted to leave 10 minutes. We have more to say, but we wanted to make sure that we left it for some closing remarks. Lisa, I know you want to make about action steps. And then if anyone has any questions, they want to type in or ask.
Yeah, so quickly, there's a meme that I saw on social media of all places that said, I get more cleaning done in the 10 minutes before someone comes to my house than I do the whole week leading up to that.
It's
that same concept of beat the clock.
Totally.
So again, at the end, if you guys have any questions, please type them in the search bar. In the question comment bar there, and we'll get to them. But at the end, we like to talk about what we call calls to action. What are you going to do this week based on what you learned? And, what can you do to start creating a support system? So, of course, mine are very obvious. Again, join a gym, hire a personal trainer, hire Stacey. Those are very obvious things that you can do. That we call calls to action. But maybe joining a gym isn't for you, or you just don't feel comfortable right now. So what can you do personally for your health and wellness and for your fitness that is exercise related? Maybe you start going for walks around your neighborhood, things like that. So think about that. So Stacey, what are some calls to action for you?
Okay, well, just to kind of reinforce some of the things that we talked about today, the first thing I would do is many things, as I've said, that I think are really important and correlate to support and success. I actually think the first one is checking in with your needs. That is something there are at least a dozen conversations a week I'm having with people to either help them think about their needs for the first time with new clients, or helping them reconnect with their needs when they're off. And usually one of the best barometers to know that we're disconnected from our needs is that we're grumpy, or we're overly tired, or we're feeling anxious or irritable. And so it's just really good to tune in and check in on what your needs for support are. So I would write those down. And then after you've got your list of like, okay, what support do I need? Then I would ask myself, who do I need that from? And so, I, of course, encourage people to put yourself on that list as much as possible, because the more that you learn to meet your own needs, the less dependent you are and the less disappointed you'll be when other people aren't able to meet those needs and support you. So that's number one. And then number two, I just want to encourage people. I know it was on the action list last week, but I suspect this may end up on the action list multiple times because, we're doing a series on living your best life. And it's really hard to live your best life if you're disorganized and if you don't plan. So let me just speak to the planning thing for a second, since we have just a minute here to recap. Not everybody is a big planner. And I want to speak to that because people that know me and have known me a long time, people that work with me know that I am a big planner. And sometimes I think people are thinking, well, yeah, that's easy for you to say because you're wired to plan. But what about the rest of us? What about the rest of us who aren't planners, who don't sit down and map out the week and don't sit down and map out the year? And so I just want to reinforce that there's another way to plan, and that's to become very deliberate and very mindful about what you want. So it may not manifest in terms of, okay, from 6 to 7 on Wednesday night, I'm going to do my workout. It might not manifest like that. But if you are super dedicated to being mindful and deliberate and intentional about what you want, to be your best version of yourself, that is a very legitimate way to also get results. It's just that you can't space on that, because if you're not planning and then you're not thinking about those things, then you're going to wander aimlessly and not get the results you want for yourself, your partner, or your family. And so it's just important to do that either way. And then the last thing I want to do is I really want to encourage people to play this game, because a lot of times I hear people talk about how it's really hard to get started on something. Getting started is often the hardest thing. And this game for me is a technique in getting started. Like once I'm already motivated, I don't need it. I use this when I want just that little hump of motivation. And so I really encourage people to play that game. And then I guess one other thing that I want to do is just encourage people to think about the two people in your life that you turn to the most, your best friend, your spouse, and think about what you need from them to help you thrive, and try to be specific if there's one thing to ask for, like, hey, could you please watch television in the other room so I could support myself in having better sleep at night? Something very concrete and tangible. So those are the action steps for the week.
Okay. So the only question that we have typed in here is, this was great. Stacey, if someone wanted to hire you, how would they go about it?
Who asked that question?
Mark Kerman.
Okay, in full transparency, I knew that was going to be Mark Kerman. That is my boyfriend, to be clear. And I did not ask him to do that, but I know that is exactly what you would do, Mark. So anyway, but I'll answer it nevertheless. So if somebody wants to hire me, because I haven't actually mentioned that in our series. And so if somebody wants to hire me, I do offer a complimentary 30-minute coaching session to explore what it would look like for us to partner together. So I encourage anyone who is seriously thinking about working with a life coach to do that. My schedule is full. I am accepting new clients, but my time is really full. So anyway, yeah, I'm excited to work with people in general.
Well, I'm glad that Mark is so supportive of you. There's your support system right there.
Exactly. Watching this on a Monday afternoon.
Right. So, okay, well, that is it for today. Look for us again next Monday at 12:30 Eastern here on Milestone's Facebook page, and we'll have a whole new topic for you. So stay tuned. Thanks again.
Have a great week. Happy Monday, everyone.